It's open. It was a wild open about 1.5% lower, but now it's absolutely in flat terrain. Anything comes to the eye?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of stocks which we want to see. The insurance stocks, of course, would be the first to keep an eye on. That's the data-driven stocks. Ultratech Cement. In fact, cement stocks had seen some bit of buying even in yesterday's trade, so that would be interesting. Ultratech Cement, for example, is up about 2%. Power Grid yesterday had a big move. That continues to move up, Lata. And that's it. And sugar stocks, by the way, yesterday we had a big rally in sugar stocks. That seems to be continuing. I
was toying with the idea whether I should go to Dipan first on that, but Nigel is waiting by for Momentumizer. Nigel, with your permission, I want to ask Dipan about Praj Industries. I mean, if any stock has outdone Shakti Pumps, it's probably Praj Industries. Dipan, is it still worth a buy? Dipan?
Avoid the cyclicality of sugar companies, then Praj is clearly a great beneficiary of this whole ethanol play. And they are sitting on very good order book position, again, great export potential as well, and very strong when it comes to technology in terms of converting any type of input into ethanol. So it's very positive on Praj. And I know that valuations are rich at this point of time, but I think the earnings will certainly surprise most analysts and maybe perhaps justify these high price to earnings multiples.
Okay. All right. Do stay on, Dipan. We have the management of Fortis joining us. The central government yesterday announced a revised vaccine policy. They're going to allow private hospitals to continue procuring 25% of all the vaccines produced in India. There, the pricing is free. The pricing is free, but the administration charge for the hospital has been capped at 150 rupees. Separately, of course, all vaccines in the other segment, in the government segment, is going to be procured by the central government. Ashutosh Raghuvanshi, Managing Director and CEO Fortis Healthcare, joins us now. Good morning, Mr. Raghuvanshi. Thank you very much. How do you think this is going to play out? You will administer both, is it? You will administer vaccines that you buy, and you will also administer for the government, correct?
No, our understanding is that whatever has to be provided by the private hospitals has to be procured by private hospitals, which will be only 25% of the total production. Okay. That's what our understanding is.
And who administers the government vaccines? The other 75%?
That has to be administered by the mechanisms put in place by both state as well as central governments. No,
until now, for instance, I was that 250 rupee candidate. I got vaccinated in, one of the private hospitals, although it's clearly, procured by the central government. So won't you as a private hospital be also roped in to administer the government or government procured vaccines? No, you will only administer what you procure?
No, you're right. Absolutely. The ones which we procure is what we will administer right now. Okay. There is no specific proposal. I think later on the state governments might include private sector for the final implementation. But right now, the understanding is very clear that the private hospitals have to procure themselves and inoculate people.
Okay. So for your own hospital or chain of hospitals, what is the stock of vaccine that you currently have? How much more is being procured? And what are you targeting to administer over the next, say, 1 to 2 quarters?
So, there was a news report in your channel which said that Fortis is doing about 20,000, which is the correct number. But that is what we are doing today. We have the capacity to enhance it further. So we can enhance it as per the availability, because what the policy fixes is how the vaccine will be procured for the public sector. It does not ensure that the supply chain will become better or faster or robust. So we do have visibility of providing the current load what we have. We have orders in place. So we are pretty confident that about 6 to 7 lakh vaccines per month is what we would continue to do. If the supply side improves further, if we have more availability of vaccine, we could increase this number to double or triple of that as well.
Okay. My colleague Prashant made that calculation that I think you buy Covishield from Serum at about 630 rupees. Your own logistics and storage cost would be about 100, and you price it at about 850, he said.
Yeah.
Now that it is capped at 150 per jab,
Yes.
does that change the arithmetic of profit?
So it certainly does, but overall, on an average, our charges were to the tune of about 200 rupees per vaccine.
Okay.
So 150 definitely is lower than that, but it does cover the direct expenses and some of the indirect expenses as well. The only challenge comes when you do off-site vaccination, say in corporate offices, etc., because there is an element of tax also which comes in if the corporate is paying rather than the employees individually. So all that has to be factored. So I think it will be a challenge to do off-site camps. But as far as hospital-based camps are concerned, I think that will not be a challenge at all. And as I said earlier when I spoke to you also, that for us, vaccination is more of a kind of a social obligation of the industry and to the country. So we look at it that way. And so we don't think that this will be a very material impact in any case.
Okay. Now, again, coming back to my first question, Mr. Raghuvanshi, if the government were to rope you in, say Delhi government or Maharashtra government were to rope you in for administration of their quota of free vaccines, that also is 150 rupees for administration. Is that how we should understand the policy?
That has not been specified separately in the policy. Okay. However, some of the rules are yet to be formulated, because yesterday's announcement says that the central government and state government will formulate the rules by the 21st. So I think we have to wait a few days to see what kind of clarity will emerge. I think the decision will be different in different states, because as you're aware, some of the states had earlier also said that they will be providing free vaccine, though they were procuring it at a cost from center. But they had said that they would provide it free. So I think the mechanisms need to evolve. And right now, there is no clarity. The announcements yesterday very clearly said that the rules will be formed over the next 7-8 days and before 21st.
Got that, sir. Just a minute, Mr. Raghuvanshi. I just wanted to alert that yesterday, when the DHFL verdict came from the NCLT, we were discussing this with Subramanya Kumar, the administrator of DHFL. He couldn't confirm whether the shares will be delisted before the process of taking over by Piramal starts, but now the announcement has been clarified. Yes, the shares will be delisted before they are merged into the Piramal group or maybe Piramal Enterprises. Sonia, over to you.
Okay, well, that's important. But Mr. Raghuvanshi, I just had a couple of more questions on the drugs that are used for COVID treatment itself. Favipiravir, etc., has been now taken off the COVID treatment list. Will that have any implications on the industry as a whole? Were you using any of these three drugs in significant, amounts for COVID treatment itself?
No, I think most protocols had evolved over the last 1 year, and most of these drugs did not have that much of usage, except for Flavipur, which was still, I think, of interest because there wasn't enough studies available. Now, since it is out of the protocol, I think that simplifies and clarifies few things. It is only a better move than I think a confusion of multiplicity of drugs with limited or doubtful efficacy.
Okay. We'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. Okay, maybe I can squeeze in a last question. Mr. Raghuvanshi, how long do you think you will be able to do this 20,000 or even increase the number? You see this as a job you will have for the rest of the year, 2 quarters, 3 quarters?
I think at the current pace of vaccination across the country and what needs to be achieved, it will take at least 2 quarters. So definitely till end of December, this goes on, right. Maybe a little longer.
Okay, because Prashant my colleague had assumed 2 quarters. So that's what you're saying. Thank you very much.
I would agree with that.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us with all those details from your end. Okay, over to you, Anuj. It's a flat opening for the big boys, but mid-caps doing well.
Yeah, mid-caps are doing well, especially sugar stocks. DHFL itself is up 10%.
The Goldman D-list.
Yeah, I know. But you know what?
Even yesterday it was up some 5%.
I know. I mean, but it's not going to help.
We have seen this in Kingfisher. We have seen this in Jet.
Absolutely.
I don't know why the shares keep on trading.
Absolutely. And why you keep bidding them up. It's a gamble, lottery, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, they're 10% higher on that stock. But let's take the 9-10 calls. The Nifty is up 22 points in pre-open and the mid-cap index is up 0.5%. Sudarshan, if we open here, what's the strategy and what's the 9-10 call?
Well, we take profits in the Nifty and step aside, and we do not touch the Bank Nifty. The Bank Nifty could actually go down significantly. Tata Consumer is a buy with a stop at 690 and a target of 715.
Okay, Tata Consumer is a buy for Sudarshan. Mitesh, what's your 9-10 call?
I would choose a buy on Exide with a stop below 194 for targets of 204.
Okay, let's do one thing then. Let's now go across to Nigel for the Momentumizers segment. Nigel?
Well, Anuj, I've been tracking some of these real estate stocks and they've been doing very, very well. Oberoi Realty, in fact, is hitting fresh all-time highs. And in fact, we also had Godrej Properties that has done quite well. But a smaller stock, much smaller in comparison to brand as well as size. Suntech Realty, well, the stock corrected close to around 30% from the recent peak that we saw in January 2021. Though it's bounced close to around 15% in the last 20 days or thereabouts. Now, I was looking at the last announcement that came in terms of operational performance. There was nothing really negative out there. The pre-sales were higher, the collections were higher, and in fact you did see that they also said that they had the highest collections in the fourth quarter as well as in the last fiscal year. The delivery data is quite interesting because around 10 sessions ago, the delivery that we saw in 3 sessions was close to around 20 lakh shares. Now it appeared there was some selling exhaustion that got absorbed at those levels because from there the stock has rebounded from around that 270, 280 odd mark all the way to around 300 rupees odd. Technical levels that you're tracking, it bounced from the 20 DMA as well as the 50 DMA. Now, in fact, if it can get past that 100 DMA, it'll be quite interesting whether or not the stock has momentum or not. Otherwise, it's been an underperformer. And just going by the technical levels and delivery data, that's why that stock has found a place in our momentumizers. Back to you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Nigel, for that. But let's talk about what's buzzing this morning. Nupur is here to tell us what stock is on her list. Nupur, what do you have?
Well, after strong Q4 earnings, Polycab in its conference call announced aggressive targets for next 5-year under Project Leap. Targets include doubling of revenues to 20,000 crores by 2026 versus 9,000 currently, and 12% EBITDA margins in FMCG segment. For B2B, Polycab is targeting 1.5 times market growth in core B2B segment.
Okay, Nupur, we are having some audio issues, but Polycab is the interesting stock to watch. Let's now go across to Nimesh as well for standout brokerage report. Nimesh, what have you chosen?
Hi Anuj, so today's standout report is on oil and gas companies, essentially ONGC, GAIL and Oil India. So Goldman Sachs has put out a note today. They see a significant earnings upside for all the 3 companies, which is ONGC, GAIL and Oil India. For ONGC and Oil India, the key reason for them is Goldman Sachs is actually upping their estimates on crude oil to $75 per barrel for FY22 and FY23 versus their earlier estimates of $67 and $64. So that's the reason for Oil India. For GAIL, Goldman Sachs is a significant improvement in domestic gas prices. So Goldman Sachs is assuming the gas prices to go up from $2 per MMBTU to almost $2.5 in FY22 and all the way up to $3.8 per MMBTU in FY23. So that's the reason why they expect a sharp earnings upgrade in GAIL as well. So these are the 3 stocks Goldman Sachs is focusing on. In terms of individual recommendations, Goldman Sachs has a buy rating on ONGC, but they further raised the target price to 180 from 160 earlier, which means a potential 40% upside even from current levels. For Oil India, they've raised the target price to 190. For GAIL, the new target price is 195. For all the 3 companies, Goldman Sachs has raised the EPS estimates on an average by 2 to 3% for FY22 and FY23.
Okay, all right, just a photo finish. The markets are opening absolutely in flat terrain with only the mid-caps showing a dash of green, but that is getting compensated by the Nifty Bank, which is down by almost an equal percent, but it's flat. This flatness should be expected. The moment you saw the FISL figure, you knew Nifty would struggle a bit, but let's see whether it's able to overcome the struggle and on which side. Is it bulls or is it bears? Power is still the stock of the morning. NTPC is up about 1%. And surprise, surprise, Bajaj Finance is seeing a bit of short covering. It had fallen over 4%. Today it's up 0.8. And then there are the auto companies are doing well. Tata Consumer is up. I think it was on Sudarshan's technical buy list. Eicher Motors, Infosys, of course, there's news. IOC, Wipro, IT companies generally are in the green. Otherwise, it's a motley group. Auto companies are in the green because there's both Eicher and Maruti which are doing well. Tech Mahindra is also now joining and HCL Tech are joining the ranks of green stocks. IOC, BPCL are already there. So is Coal India and Grasim. TCS also in the green by 1/3%. So there's IT for sure, there's oil and gas for sure, and the Bajaj twins are also there. What's in the red? Okay, SBI Life, and that Abhishek Wand does that. The numbers that came are not, they're kind of mixed. Cement is taking a little bit of, profit taking, if you please. Shree Cement down 0.8, and then comes the metal stocks. Tata Steel and JSW Steel both down about 0.6, including Hindalco, again 0.6 down. Then you have the big banks, ICICI Bank, Kotak Mahindra Bank, and SBI, IndusInd as well. All of Axis Bank, okay. Axis Bank has lost the least, but the others have lost about 0.5%. HDFC Bank also down about 0.15. And now Bajaj Finserv has also moved into the red. So not a great day for financials, at least not a great opening for financials. But Sonia midcaps in the green, but not as good as the first minute.
It's coming off a little bit, so it's getting volatile now. In fact, any moment now, okay, the Nifty has now slipped into the red. The Bank Nifty is down 100 points. So it is getting very volatile. The advanced decline ratio is positive at 1700 stocks on the advancing side. Some big moves yet again coming in the Adani Group stocks. Adani Power is up almost 10%, big volumes there. A lot of banks, IOB, UCO Bank, Central Bank of India moving up. IRCTC continues to move up on that unlocked trade, so another 3% there. You have a couple of these stocks, Phoenix Mills. A lot of this unlocked trade continues to pan out, so keep an eye out on that. New India Assurance is well in the green right now. Shriram Transport on that QIP news is up almost about 2%. Some of these real estate names, Prestige Estates in the green, so keep an eye out on that. Varun Beverages, second day running, that one is moving higher. India Mart is up almost 1%. It had a big fall, India Mart, so just reclaiming some of its losses. And sugar stocks, it's all about the sugar stocks this morning. So something like a Rana Sugar, some of these smaller sugar stocks have also started to rally quite a bit. So do keep that on your radar as well. On the downside though, Mazgaon Dock is coming in for some profit taking. A lot of metal stocks seeing profit taking, Nalco, Hindalco. There's BHEL which is down, SBI under a bit of pressure. Something like an Andhra Cement. CLSA put out a note on cement. So, just keep that entire space on your radar. Now it's getting very volatile. Anuj, how are you reading into this? Especially the Bank Nifty has now moved into the red. Is there some signs of exhaustion at higher levels, and do you think this could perhaps be the order of the day?
The market's shown a clear sign that at least for the first hour, it's the IT sector which is where the market wants to go. Just look at some of these stocks. The first bars for some of these names like Infosys, I think Wipro. Just look at Nifty IT's bar. That's a big green bar, 217 points or 0.8%. I think Infosys is leading it, but I think you have Wipro as well. The mid-cap IT doing well like Coforge. So that is clearly showing you some distinct sign of some kind of perhaps sector rotation which has happened in the past in the market. But today's first move is clearly in the IT stocks. Let's see if the Bank Nifty consolidates a bit more, corrects a bit more, and then there's some buying. But IT stands out for me. Mitesh, your thoughts on market opening?
Anuj, you rightly picked the sector, which has caught my eye early in the day. I had a buy on TCS earlier, but I think it's clearly the IT stocks which are showing momentum. And Infosys and HCL Tech look like could be a good trading bet. I think Infosys has opened with a mild gap up from yesterday's hourly closing. So very tight stop loss 1390 here can be taken, and 1440 could be the target. Similarly on HCL Tech, I think there's good continuation signals on the upside. Keep a stop just below day's low, which is about 10.7%. And on the upside, 985, 990 could be the target.
Okay, Mitesh, thanks a lot for joining us. Dipan, very quickly, IT stocks bouncing back once again. Any top pick?
I think mid-cap IT should do very well. Focus is on companies like Tata, Elixir, Mindtree, and the L&T twins. I think they can deliver good performance. And what we are seeing is money moving into safe haven at this point of time, expecting some sort of a correction in the overall market.
All right, Dipan, thanks a lot for joining us. Have a good day. Let's move on then. Atul Suri is joining us, CEO of Marathon Trends PMS. Atul, good morning. Thanks for joining us. It's been a spectacular run, right, for the Nifty, now back to all-time highs. Right. And it looks like, the journey to 16,000 has started. But your thoughts on what next?
Well, I think, Anuj, the thing is that this is global in nature. It's not just India and it's not just equities. So if you really look at the starting point, it still continues to be the easy liquidity being provided to the markets thanks to the Fed. And if we really want to see, everyone's concerned. A lot of people ask, isn't this crazy? The ground reality is different and your markets are going crazy. And it's not just Indian equity. It's global equity. It is commodities. It is cryptocurrency. It is your private equity space. It's SPACs. It's whatever you have is really going up. And this is nothing but a function of a lot of liquidity being pushed in the market. Nobody's complaining it's an all happy situation till inflation raises its head. And I think for me, the big red flag for markets or for asset classes in general will be inflation. In case inflation goes up, then you will start seeing tide tree, you'll start seeing all your tampered and all those things coming into play. And that, I think, is what could arrest. Till that doesn't happen, I don't really think there is a very big concern for global markets. Now, how really do we go and check out this inflation thing? Obviously, by the time the inflation numbers come or by the time the Fed does something, it may be too late and markets are forward looking. So I think it's very important, or what I really look at every morning, the first thing I look at is US 10-year bond yields. It's not what cryptos did, it's not what NASDAQ did, because they're all a derivative of what's happening in that space. And if you really see that the US bond yields, which about a year ago were at 0.5, went all the way, really shot up to around 1.74. And in the last 3 months or so, you'll find that they have been moving sideways. So the lower band of the US 10-year bond yield is 1.54 on the downside and 1.74 on the upside. Today, it is at 1.56. So in case US bond yields, contrary to whatever people think, everyone's saying that there is going to be inflation, looking at commodity prices. But the market, or what the bond market is saying, is something different. So in case bond prices fall below the US 10-year, below 1.54, I think you can have another strong leg up. And more importantly is that the mood can move back from value to growth. There is also not just a case of liquidity, but rising bond yields also attract the value play in equity markets. That is why you will see that a lot of things like IT, etc., have had a bit of a holiday for the last few months. But in case bond yields come down, you will again see the re-emergence of the growth trade, which is your sectors like IT, pharma, consumer discretionary will go up. So I think this is playing out globally, and this will have its impact on India. So the thing that I look for, as I said, or for me, for levels or for direction, is going to be inflation in the US and bond yields. If they go below 1.54, I think it can be a very good setup for a leg up for the risk on trade again.
Okay, but Atul, hi, good morning. How are we positioned right now on India? Are you feeling a bit cautious, or do you think that the liquidity is plenty enough right now to continue taking the Indian markets higher?
I think, Sonia, taking this argument further, you'll realize that emerging markets as a lot have not been doing much in the last few months. In fact, they have gone into a sideways mode. So in case you see the bond yields collapse in the US, again, there has been a little bit of caution. There is a bit of fear of inflation. There is a fear that, the whole the taper talk has started again. So that has really, to some extent, restrained FII flows in you have a good week, bad week, good week. You're not having these outlandishly billion-dollar weeks or a billion-dollar month, So I think this kind of tempered optimism is there. But I personally continue to believe that the markets will head higher. You will have short-term corrections in a week, 10 days. But beyond that, I think the markets are heading higher. I am in the camp that I feel inflation is going to be a little bit of a one-off. It's not going to be sustained inflation. And this is really going to keep bond prices under the lid. And this is really going to help the risk on trade. And that's where I think where India would benefit. So the Nifty point of view, we are at around 15,700 or thereabouts. I personally think that if you ask me for a year-end target, I think we're heading to around 17,500. There will be corrections. There may be a correction tomorrow also. I'm not talking about that. But I do think that we are heading higher as a market. And as I said, it's not because of our doing, but just it's the global play of liquidity. And nobody can find the top. But I personally think that it's still not too late. Markets will give you short-term corrections. You need to use it.
Okay, so now let's talk about the two big indices, Atul.